Hello, we are the Salon Sleuths. My name is Melissa,
And my name is Leslie.
and we are two women from the Pacific Northwest. We are both curious about paranormals, spirit guides, ghosts, past lives.
We are suspicious about true crime, disappearances, and strange phenomenons. We are open to learning about the supernatural and all things we don't understand.
Together, we're opinionated with a splash of smartass. Join us to learn. And stay curious, stay suspicious, and stay open.
Follow Salon Sleuths on all major podcast platforms.
Good morning, Leslie. How are you?
I'm doing great. Actually, I had a little feedback from one of our listeners saying that my audio is very low.
Yeah, just
So I
you?
have my microphone now right here because
Okay,
I was
good.
just using the microphone from the computer. So thanked her for her feedback and I agreed
Yeah.
with her for sure because I always
Yes.
have to bump mine up a little bit. And so I thought I'm going to try this
Yeah.
before I
And that
go to a headset like yours,
yeah,
which
that
I
actually
probably need anyway because I'm constantly moving.
yeah, and that actually reminds me because I think that my computer turns me down sometimes, although I'm up all the way. So I guess maybe not.
Well, I
But
don't know.
yeah, we've definitely had issues with sound and things. I mean, I
Melissa, I have so many issues. The audio is just one of many. I could go on, but I'm sure most of you have figured out a lot of them already by just listening to me. But
let's do
audio
that.
is one
Let's
of
go
them.
through it. Let's go
Yeah.
through your list of what's that called? Festivus for the rest of us. Do you want to go
Oh.
through your grievances?
Oh, I have so many. I probably should just start with the couple things I am good at because there's just a couple, and everything else can be on the other list.
Oh, that's
Anyway,
not true. That's not true. Well, you know what?
Melissa.
We're going to talk about funny today.
Okay, I
This is
want you
the
to
topic.
say your normal.
Oh, hello, Salon Sleuth fans. How are
Hello,
you today?
Melissa.
I have to say my regular.
Yes, I love that part.
Oh, see, we're starting off with humor. I like this because this is
Yes.
today's topic.
Yeah.
So, you and I met this week in the salon, and I was telling you that last Thursday I had a complete meltdown. Like, I've talked about my MP friends, my Marco Polo friends. There's five of us. And I don't know how it started, but one of us started crying about something. And then we all started piling and crying. And it was like, for me, uncontrollable sobbing. I like had to turn off the recording because I was crying so hard. And I was
Crying
telling you all this.
laughing or crying
No,
sad?
crying sad, crying so
Oh.
sad. And it was all the year, the stuff that's been going on this year and, kids and their struggles and all that. And then the next day, I don't know what happened, but in the afternoon, I got on this podcast that is called Phone Pranks. And I literally started laughing so hard. Again, it was uncontrollable. So this was the following day. And I was laughing so hard. In fact, I'm going to pull it up here eventually, but I wanted you to hear how incredibly hard. Sorry, you're hearing my MP girls because I got to find this from last Friday. I was laughing so hard that I just couldn't stand it. And so I sent these videos to my friends and I'm like, "Oh my god, you guys have got to listen to these." And I don't know if it was because I was literally laughing so hard in the video to them that they had these high expectations for their laughter. They all did not think it was funny. They were like, "Well, we actually thought you laughing was funnier than the actual prank."
Oh.
And so then I had you listen this week, right? And you
It was
were guttural.
hilarious.
You were guttural laughing like I was. And I was like, okay, so Leslie finds this funny. Like, why don't other people find me funny or find these things that we find each other funny? Let me see if I can. Oh, it just skipped. I
Well,
thought
and I
I'd
think
done it.
different times of the day, and if you're tired or you're silly, I think things can be funnier or not as funny. Don't you think? Like
I agree.
maybe
I,
maybe they had higher expectations, and then therefore it wasn't as funny. But if you would have just given it to them without the you in the background, maybe it would have been. funnier? Because I found it, but I also have done the same sort of prank before, so it's sort of my kind of funny.
Which was interesting to me that you have done this before because I have never really done phone
Actually,
pranks.
since you did that, I was wondering if I could do it from my own phone. If I like did like *67, it
Yeah,
would block me so that people didn't know that I was the one calling the other two. Because I
I
thought it
think
would
it
be
would.
really fun to do it like on the show, but I
I
wasn't
think
sure
it would.
because I don't want it to look like it's coming from me,
Right, right,
and then
right,
it wouldn't be funny.
right.
Yeah.
Well, and so then one of my girlfriends was like, "Well, I don't really think pranks are funny." And I was like, "Okay, I feel like they're harmless. When they're harmless, they're funny."
Yes.
Like, we used to call and go, "Is your refrigerator running?"
Yeah.
And they'd be like, "Yeah." "Well, you should go catch it." I mean,
Yeah.
stuff like that. Like, I find that funny because it's harmless.
Yes.
Um, so anyways, I got the reaction that I wanted from you on Monday. I was like, well, thank God somebody finds it
Yeah.
funny. Because by the way, I sent it to my kids. They refused to watch it. I had my husband listen to them. He didn't find them really funny.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is
Okay, well,
going on?
we also talked about this on Monday was I think you and I are more visual. So
Yes.
as these two people are talking, we're imagining them and their reactions. They're probably on the phone like, what's
Yes.
going on? Like talking to the person next to them in the same room, going, why is this person not understanding what I'm saying? So I think
Yes.
we can visualize what both people are doing. And I don't know if
And the
everybody can
confusion.
visualize that as they
Yes.
go.
Yeah.
Can they? I don't know.
So then we start talking like, what do you find funny, Leslie? What
Yeah.
what are your funniest things?
I find it's sad, but like when people get hurt,
Me too.
but
Me
I
too.
also feel bad. I want to help
Yes.
them, but I also kind of giggled at first, like, oh my God, this is so funny.
Well, don't you
Or
find it's when they're hurt or they get hurt, but it's not when they're like really hurt. Like
right.
if there's
Like
yeah.
they tripped and they're kind of embarrassed, but
Yes.
I'm embarrassed for them probably.
Yes.
I
Yes.
remember being in the car and this woman with this crazy red curly hair and this bird swooping down and like taking her hair. And I was in my car and she was walking and it just kept happening and she's like freaking out and then she's putting something over her head and I found that to be very funny. And it
Oh
was
my gosh.
probably terrifying for her. It was like the episodes of Birds, the movie with Alfred Hitchcock,
Okay,
and she's being attacked by these birds like and it was hilarious, but it was
that
probably not
reminds
to her.
me
Yeah,
of the Australian birds. Aren't you the one that told me about those birds?
I don't think so.
Yes, you did. I am
You
pretty
know
sure
what?
you
I
did.
have a
Where the
really, really
helmet
bad memory.
Okay, listen to this. You'll remember this. Where there's this whole stream, and I can't remember what the birds are called, but they're in Australia and they attack people riding bicycles. You told me
No,
about
I
this.
think we talked about this. I think you told the story.
Okay, well, and people then people then put they make helmets and they put eyes on the back of the helmets so that maybe the bird won't attack them.
No, you put eyes on the back of your helmets so that cougars don't attack you because they only attack. We talked
No,
about
this
this.
is the birds too. I've never heard the
Okay.
cougars thing. Wait,
Yeah. Okay.
cougars attack people on bikes?
They'll no, just like hikers and stuff. So a lot of times you'll
Oh.
see like they'll put eyeballs on the back of their head.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I've never seen this. No, this is like a legit you
Okay.
could Google these Australian birds for the life of me right now. I can't remember the name.
Okay.
But no, it's funny as shit because first of all, they're not dying or dead, right? And so you're laughing because these birds just keep swooping down and attacking them. And I do find that kind of humor
Yeah.
funny. And then you and I were also talking about we find physical comedy very funny.
Yeah.
Like Lucille Ball and
Yeah.
Melissa McCarthy. And
Yes.
so
And like old school when he gets shot in the neck with the dart.
why,
And he's like,
okay, why am I
"What?"
laughing right now? I don't even know who we're
Oh, you don't
talking
even know what I'm talking
about.
about? I find that
No,
to be a
but
very
I find
funny
that
part
funny.
in old school.
Oh,
Yeah.
old school. That's it.
Remember
Yes.
that show Old School? And like he's like,
Yes.
"We're going streaking," and he gets in the car with his wife, and
Yes.
she's like, "Who? There's nobody else here." Like, I think that's funny, because
Yes.
he's like
Yes.
in his own world and he's so excited and nobody else is there.
Yes.
I think I've done that. I think I've been really excited, and I'm the only one that's excited about certain things, like going to haunted hotels. I'm super excited. And look, where most people are like out of there. So, one
Yeah.
of my clients, I have to tell you the story, and I'll do it really quick.
That's
She's trying
okay.
to buy this old big mansion. It used to be in her family many, many years ago. And we can get into this more too, because this is a no whole other story.
This
But
is
I
one in
told her we
California,
get first
right?
dibs.
Yeah, California, right?
Yeah. So we
Okay.
get first dibs in going in there. And not
Nice.
only that, my friend John, we're going to do
Yes.
the ghost hunting there, but we
Yes.
get first dibs. And
Okay,
like
I love
she's
it.
like, well, I don't know. I mean, there are probably people like us who want to get in there. She's like, but most people like don't want to come to those things. I'm like, people in
Uh,
my group, we
I
do.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sign
I'm
me
all
up.
over that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting all over that. So do you and Michael share the same sense of humor?
Yes, most of the time. And a lot of times we don't even talk in our own language. We just refer to old movies.
Yes.
Like we'll just say certain verses from is that a word? Verses?
Versus, yeah, or
Verses from
lines.
yeah, we talk in movie language. So
Yes.
like, you know, if we're mad at each other, we may bring up something that was said in another movie without being hurtful or mean, but you're like letting him know that this isn't okay.
Yes,
Like,
yes, yes.
little things like that. And I think it's funny. I think it's a nice way to like show your point without it being,
Overt.
terrible. Yeah.
Yeah. And Eric and I do that too. We have a lot of those things. And sometimes you go out in public and you say them and you're like, "Oh wait, not everybody knows we're joking."
Yeah.
Or they just think we're an idiot cuz like I think I told this story on here. We used to drive to work every day together. And one day we're listening to the radio. I think it was the Mark and Brian show or whatever, on Z100. And the news, one of the women was doing like an advertisement for a company on there. And instead of reading voila, she said, and viola. And we both knew what she was supposed to say.
Yeah.
And so sometimes instead of saying voila, we will go and viola
Yeah.
because we're making
Hilarious.
fun of that. Yeah.
So I'd love that.
Yes.
That's
But
hilarious.
then
Yeah.
I think, okay, people don't know you're freaking kidding.
Yeah.
Like, like it's contextual where if I'm out or even at a job site, I'll make a funny remark that is kind of our inside joke. And I'm like, oh, wait, nobody else knows that joke. So
Yes.
I just sound like an idiot that's using viola instead of voila.
Okay. Do you remember that movie? It was about Best in Show. Did you ever see that?
I did. Was that about the
It's about the
dogs?
dogs. And
Yes.
then the one lady that's all Botoxed out, she's been in a lot of movies, but she was married to that really, really old man in that movie. Do you remember?
Vaguely.
Okay, so she's this
You watch
younger.
more obscure, funny movies than I
And
do,
at first that
I
movie
think.
was so weird, and I was like, "What is this?" And then you watch it again, and it's actually really funny.
Yeah.
So she's married to this guy who looks like he's already in the grave, and she's like this totally Botox woman, and obviously it's for the money. And she's like sitting there, and she's like, "So we can sit here and talk or not talk." So a lot of times, like we're in the car and it's all
Yeah.
quiet. Michael's like, or we can just sit here and talk or not talk. So little funny things like that, because he's just filling in that space of
Yes.
like it
Awkwardness.
was just really funny. So little
Yeah.
things like that, exactly like your voila. Is that what you say?
Voila, voila. Well, it's
Voila.
viola, but she said viola.
Viola.
It's voila. She said viola. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it,
See,
yeah,
that's
I
really
like it.
funny. Like for the
Yeah.
longest time, that little girl that I used to nanny, she's special needs. And she, instead of said magazines, she says mazagines.
Oh, yeah.
And then for the longest time, I couldn't remember how to really say it. So it was just sort of mazagines. And
Yes.
everybody around me would say that. And then it just became the word. And then
Yes.
for a while, then you're like, wait, how do you really like
Yeah.
it's confusing. But I find that stuff it kind of makes me internally giggle.
Yeah. And it's kind of endearing. So then I was interested, like, okay,
Yeah.
why do these guys not find this funny? Like, why does she not like pranks? Like, who doesn't like a good prank if it's
Yeah.
not hurtful? And so, anyways, I started kind of researching it, and there's definitely seems to be a correlation in partners. So Eric and I share some of the same humor, but we don't share all of our humor. Like he loves The Princess Bride and like The Pink Panther, which, I've watched The Pink Panther enough times now that I can giggle at it. But at the beginning, I was just like, I don't find this funny. I find Bridesmaids. I find Wedding Crashers, like hilarious.
Yeah.
And I think it's because I really find humor in that uncomfortable, awkward, sexually taboo, or potty talk
I
taboo
love
kind
all
of
of
thing.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
me
I
too.
agree completely. And
Me
you
too.
know what? I never really ever I don't even know if I've ever finished The Princess Bride. I didn't there's gonna be so many people that hate us for
I
saying that
know.
because
I know.
so many people and maybe I need to rewatch it now, but I just never really got it, I guess.
I,
Like
I didn't either.
same thing with what's the something diaries the
Princess Diaries?
no, the no with oh gosh, I forget it. Um
What's it about?
it's oh my god. See, I this is I'm gonna say something funny. I'm gonna
Yeah,
think
okay.
it's funny. I have
Okay.
really bad mammary glands.
Is that from a movie?
No, so it's funny because it's a two-parter, right? I really have a
Yes.
really bad memory, but I
Yes.
have really bad mammary glands
Memory.
too. And so sometimes when I'm working and I can't find my words, I'll say that and people look at me because they know that I said the wrong
Yes.
thing, but they're not sure if I know that I said the wrong thing.
Yes.
So I think that's funny, and I
Yes.
don't laugh, and then later I'm like, "You know, I was kidding," and they're like, "Oh my god, I wasn't sure." Um, so I find that to be funny. Um, Bridget's
Oh, Bridget
Diary
Jones' Diary.
yeah, I never understood that movie. Like, I get the whole movie. I didn't think it was funny. I really thought it was something else all from the beginning. And still to this day, I'm
Oh.
like, it just never really. Although the funny part when he was like trying to go up her skirt and he's like, what are these
What
knickers?
are these?
So that part I think was funny. But in general, I just never really got that movie. But I do probably need to give Princess Diary or no, Princess, what was that? Princess
Princess
Bride?
Diaries, yeah.
No,
I've
Princess
seen that.
Bride.
Oh, Princess Bride, sorry, you're right.
I probably need to give that one more try because, I feel like a lot of people are not going to agree with us on that
I
not
have
being very
abandoned
funny.
it. I mean, my kids all find it funny. My husband finds it funny.
People
If
refer to it, and I have no idea what
oh,
they're talking about, like
I mean, I can tell you some of the lines, but I don't I don't get it.
yeah,
It's just not my humor. Um,
and
it's
that's okay,
just
we can't
yeah,
all have the same humor,
yeah. So
otherwise
then
we'd just be laughing all the time, like yeah.
well, and so then I was kind of like, okay, what is the humor? Do you have to be in a certain mood? Because I think you're right. Like sometimes we're just not in the mood. I
Yes.
think I was in the mood after crying so much on Thursday and being so emotional that I think I released a ton of anxiety and stress and all of that.
Well,
And
and I think under really stressful situations, things can be even funnier
yes,
because you're
yes,
just so like, "Oh my god," and everything's so wound up that you're like, Oh, so another
like
thing that Ella and I will do is you have to fake laugh until you really laugh. So we'll just sit at the table and just like you just did a forced laugh,
right. Yes,
right? It
exactly.
was kind of funny. You were agreeing
Yes,
with me, but it wasn't a real laugh.
right.
So there's like
Because
the
I'm actually thinking of the fact that my girlfriend, when she starts laughing, when she gets going, you can't help but laugh. You're
yes,
eventually going to laugh. You'll start out
yes.
going, ha, 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 and then you're like, oh my God, she cannot
So
stop
we
laughing.
all do that on purpose. Like
Yes.
on a Friday night, we'll sit around and like do fake laughs until you really start laughing. And then
Yes.
everyone's like crying. But that's
Well,
what
what did
we
I
do
call
for,
that? I called that forced laugh or
okay.
spontaneous laugh.
Okay. That's,
Yes.
I
So
mean,
that
yeah.
was my forced laugh. Spontaneous laugh would just be your uncontrollable laughing. And so this is interesting. Humor actually predates humans. I'm not
Oh.
exactly sure how that
Mhm.
term is. I was studying that. I'm like, what do you
You
mean? How
almost made
could
me
we
spit out my water because I was like,
how can you
so the laughs
predate?
existed before people.
Yes. I
Okay.
don't understand that. But what I learned through kind of doing some research is that definitely um, humor and jokes were around since the beginning of humans. And it often had to do with farting,
Yes.
interestingly enough. So everybody farts,
That's a big thing at our
people.
house. Yes.
Me too. Me
Mhm.
too. Everybody farts. Sex jokes. Sex
Sorry. I just
jokes.
visualized something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sex jokes and mismatches. Is it mixed matches? Anyways, between concept and situation. So when things don't go together, right? Violations of social taboos, which I actually do find funny for the most part, unless they are inappropriate. and then I think my conscience gets the best of me. Resolution of tensions. So when something is tense, kind of making fun of it, and then mocking and a sense of superiority. And that one kind of threw me a little bit. I was like, oh, and that's like the three jokes, like what do you get when you a Polish, and those
Yeah,
jokes that
yeah,
used to be so funny, and or people used to say all the time, and they're just inappropriate now,
yeah,
but they were to put other people down, right?
yes.
And so then I was like, okay, so then I found this thing that says what makes a joke not funny, and it was time. So, jokes that were found funny 20 years ago may not be funny now. Distance robs the joke of cultural meaning, meaning the further away from that time of the, time or event, they kind of lose their cultural meaning. Broad, sweeping, or offensive stereotypes can make things not funny. And then some outsiders may find humor unpalatable and dark, was the other thing. So, for example, I didn't know this, but Charlie Chaplin is still very popular in China.
Oh,
But here in the US, while we appreciate him, for his artistry, we find the humor really kind of old fashioned and predictable. And then, remember Benny Hill?
oh my God. I loved Benny Hill.
Okay, so Benny Hill is one of the very few UK comedians, but in the UK, they find him very cringeworthy. They don't find him funny. But even though he was
Because he
like,
was dirty and he
yes,
was super cringy. Did you
yes.
know, I think he died alone and they didn't find his body for a couple of
Oh,
days.
oh.
I think if I remember correctly, I think he had passed away. And
And
remember,
he
I
was
thought he
the
was like a
creepy old
really old
man.
man. Do you remember?
Yeah, he
He
was.
was like our age.
What?
Yeah. I think he was only in his 40s and 50s when that show was on.
Shut
You should
up.
Google it because I don't think he was a dirty old man. I think he was an old man. He was like us. We're
Well,
old.
he always had he had gray hair and balding, and
I think he
he
was
always
like
had these
bald and it
young.
was like whoa 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 and like the two coconuts like right here
Yes.
at the food stand. Like he was funny. Like he was super dirty and inappropriate for sure. And he was super
Yeah.
cringy. Like
Yeah.
now, like if my kids saw that, they would be like, "What the hell
What
is
is
this?"
this? Yeah.
Because it all
Yeah.
referred to like the banana with two kiwis. I was gonna say kiwis,
Yes. He,
but
it,
kiwis.
he everything was tits and
Yeah,
boobs and young women, and he definitely fit that.
yeah. He was always chasing, like
Yes.
yeah.
The girls, yeah. So then
He is cringy, like
he is
regardless. Like
cringy.
yeah,
Yeah, he is cringy. He's a little, and I think because time has gone by too, that's inappropriate now, right?
yeah. Oh my gosh,
So
I have my one of my favorite funny jokes, but it's about deaf people, and I always say I feel like I can say this joke because I only can hear in one ear.
I don't think that works. I
I
don't
know.
think that's
So
right.
see, that's kind of funny. But like if I were to say that to the wrong person or tell
Right.
you on the show, but it's really funny. So remind me at your next appointment, I will tell you my funny joke.
Okay, but not on the air, so you don't want to get
No, I
hate
just think
mail.
some people, well, they probably can't hear it.
Yeah, maybe it's, yeah, I don't know. I don't think
And
we're in CC.
yeah, I hope not
Yeah.
because no, definitely won't tell the joke then, but remind me to tell you it because it's really funny. I think it's really
Uh,
funny.
okay, so with your kids,
Yes.
because I send my kids what I think is funny sometimes, and I think that they'll think it's funny, and
Yes.
they either A, won't watch it, or B, they don't really find it funny.
Yeah.
So have you realized that you and your kids have some things in common, but things that you don't
Yeah.
have in common?
Like Tristan, he's got a different type of humor, but then we get a
Okay.
lot of his humor and he creates his own humor, which then we all like adapt. He makes up these words and then we all start using them. And then next thing you know, it flows outside of our home to other people are
Yes.
using these weird words that he's created. But
Okay, so that's Jacob too, and I've kind of he's got a great comedy, sense to him, but he also is dyslexic, and he makes fun of that. So, he will say the wrong, like he can't say Pacific. No, he can't say specific. So instead of
specific.
saying specific, he'll say Pacific. And so he makes fun of it. So instead of him even trying to say specific, he'll say Pacific because
Yeah.
now it's just a longstanding joke. And so I have in in an effort to get to know my kids a little bit better, like with Maya, I was like, okay, send me some TikToks. I don't understand why all these TikToks are funny. Well, now you and I've had discussions. You sent me some TikToks that I do actually find funny, but I don't get a lot of comedy from TikTok. I get a lot more like, oh,
So
that's
your feed
interesting.
isn't that way.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So my
So
feed isn't that way too. I have a lot of paranormal and,
yes,
that girl that sleepwalks and I
yes.
have a lot of
Which is
spiritual
funny,
stuff,
by the
but I
way.
don't have a ton. I know I love her.
Yeah, yeah.
But like you, I don't have a lot of really funny ones.
Right. So I
Yeah.
asked Maya, I said, well, send me some funny things that you find is funny.
Yeah,
So
because
she
if
sent
you're
me
watching
something.
them, then it will start going on to your feed.
I didn't find it funny.
Oh,
I was like, I don't get why this is funny. And she's like, Mom, blah, 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 and I was like, yeah, I don't see it. So, anyways, this gal in this article that I was reading about comedy and what people make funny, think is funny. And let me just reference
do
her
you
a
think
little
some
bit
of
here.
it's generational though? Like we're not in the same
I do.
Yeah.
And that's what they're saying, that things aren't funny is that you get distance from that cultural meaning.
Yeah, and I feel like that's why I don't think a lot of the things that they think are funny currently.
Yes.
But then I try to be open to it, like maybe
Right.
because you still want to be like the cool mom.
Right.
You
And
still want
that
to
was me.
understand it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and I always like digging those things up for our podcast, right? So it's theconversation.com. Sophie Scott, sorry,
Mhm.
misspelled that. She mentions this, that she started asking younger people what they find funny, what they watch. And it was KSI. Have you heard of this?
No.
Okay. So I watched some of his videos, and I do have to say, I found them funny ish. I didn't find them like super funny, but the one that I found funny was he's in the front of like this little pond. He seemed like he was British, in the UK, and there's all these black swans, and then there's one white swan, and he's black, by the way. And he's narrating this like this is a racial divide, right?
Yeah.
All these blacks are over here, and he's talking about it kind of like he's an investigator, kind of crime reporter, whatever. And then he says, and then the white one is way off to the side, and he says, oh, and someone's pulled a gun, and it's the white swan. And now he's put a little gun on the white swan. So you see
Yeah.
this little, cartoon thing. And then he says, and then he gets shot by this white swan. And so I'm like, okay, he's making fun of the racial problems that we have in
Right.
the world. And I find that funny. I mean, I get the fact that he is making fun of that, but I don't really find it funny. Like, I find it sad
Yes.
that we're having to still have this conversation that, Black people are being killed, and that, in which I didn't mean to go dark on this, but, I listened to a narration or a guy talking on one of the TV programs this week about the latest shooting. And he said, look, my son's 14 and we live in LA, and he's about 5'7". He's going to soon surpass me. And I feel like he's a sitting duck.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, that hurts my heart. And so when I'm watching this kid make fun of this racial problem, I appreciate that he's making humor out of it, because I think
Well,
that
I
that
think
is
what he's
sometimes
also
healing.
doing is he's reaching the age group that it's
Yes.
going to make a big difference. And he's
Yes.
making something that's so obvious with the one
Yes.
white and the rest are dark, and how he's the one shooting,
Right.
like to bringing it to light in probably a way that will reach more people.
And then the swans are the same.
Yeah.
Literally, they are
Yeah.
the same. One has a different feather color.
It's
Like,
just so sad. The whole
it
thing is
is.
terrible.
It
But
is.
I mean, you try to take something that's um in especially a platform that all the kids are watching, and if that's in a like he's trying to bring it to light, and I think right now everybody's so um aware of it,
Yeah.
but I mean it just it's a hard subject to. I mean everybody should be treated equal.
Yeah.
Sadly there's so many people in this world that don't see it that way.
I know. Isn't that
It's like I just can't even believe it. It's just like
so
it's just so
I
sad.
not to get off on that, because I hadn't intended on having that conversation, but I think it's because they're afraid that they will become lower.
Oh,
on the
for sure.
social ladder.
Absolutely. They're afraid that it's gonna shift
Affect them. Yeah, affect
completely
them.
and go the opposite direction. Or, I mean, can it just be that we're all the same?
Well, and the question that I guess ties back into humor is that superiority complex. Because I've been thinking about this. I'm like, I don't really think that I do laugh at those things that are putting other people down at my expense, or not maybe my expense, but other people's expense.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily find those things funny. And maybe that's because I'm sensitive to this issue. I don't really know. But humor actually it does create social bonding and cohesiveness. They've actually done studies on this. And so if these younger folks, younger generations do find somebody like KSI who's, doing these funny videos about racial inequality, he does other things too. It's not just all racial. But if they are socially bonding over that humor, that's really a good thing, because that's
Well,
really what's going to change things for us.
don't you think like in the past those things were funny? Like we would laugh at those things, but I
Yes.
think that was part of the problem.
Well,
We were
I would
part of the
agree.
problem,
I would
right?
agree.
Because we didn't realize it was a problem.
And yes, and it's so serious now. Like, I
Yeah.
really feel like, you know, if it wasn't hurting people, if it wasn't killing people, I guess maybe we could still find it funny, but I mean, my heart breaks every time this happens, whether it's white or black or a school shooting or a cop killing or whatever. It just needs to stop. The guns just need to stop, you guys. Like, use your guns for hunting. Let's have hunting guns. But we don't need to have all these other guns. Like, I don't get it. And I know that gets a lot of bad
Well,
press,
I
but
think I might have mentioned this and stop me if I had, but we were talking about like the difference between whites and blacks. And like the other day I was at the grocery store and I had a whole cart full of stuff. And then I realized I got a text from Michael saying I needed to get more stuff.
yeah,
So I already bought everything. And the lady's like, "Do you want your receipt?" And normally I'd be like, "No, I don't need it, whatever." So I took it only because I was going back into the store.
right.
So I took it. Then I went back through her same line. So she knew I'd already purchased everything. But like, if I was African American, I would definitely have taken that receipt because somebody probably would have stopped them.
Well, and you'd probably also say, hey, I have to go back in.
Yeah.
I just bought all these groceries and my husband just texted me. I need to go back in. You'd like tell everyone,
Right.
right?
And which I did. But what I'm
Yeah.
saying is like we have the option of taking the receipt or not.
Yeah.
Where I
Yeah.
don't feel like they maybe feel like they have that option because the chances of them getting stopped at the door are much greater than ours.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's sad.
I think
It's sad that
it's,
I think I
yeah.
saw his TikTok about that, and I'm like,
Yeah.
that shouldn't even be it should be the same, it shouldn't matter. Like,
It
we should all
shouldn't.
take our receipt, or we all should feel like we wouldn't be stopped at the door if because I
I
just purchased
agree.
something, like, I don't know.
I agree. I totally agree. Well, let's hope that maybe humor does help, solve the problem, I mean, it's a bigger systemic problem than just humor can fix, but humor definitely helps socially bond us and some cohesiveness. It also has been proven to reduce stress, as you could imagine, right? It activates the anterior temporal lobe of the brain, which means really nothing to me. But for those of you that know the brain, it definitely has been proven to activate a part of the brain. And one study argues that the superior frontal gyrus is critical to appreciating humor,
Yeah.
which made me think immediately about older folks that are having dementia.
Yeah.
And my girlfriend is struggling with this. And actually, that may have been what caused the whole crying fit last week, was that her dad has dementia and she's really struggling with that. But one of the things she said is sometimes he still has a sense of humor.
Mhm.
It still comes through. And I'm like, okay, well, clearly that part of his brain is still intact. It may have trouble getting to it sometimes, right? But sometimes it's actually stimulated. And when you stimulate, apparently, that area, it really makes jokes funnier.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, other people laughing makes us laugh.
Yeah.
And I don't know why that is. But the only thing I can think of, when other people cry, that also can make us cry.
Or yawn or,
Oh, yeah, I hadn't thought about that. I hadn't. So do you think that if I tell you, because this is what my friend said, is I was telling them this was so funny,
Yeah.
and when they watched it, they didn't think it was as funny as they thought it was going to be. Do you
You
think
maybe should
that?
have, like, if you want to start doing experiments, just have them watch something and see their reaction
Yeah.
versus telling them how they're going to feel before they go into it. Again, like I always say, everybody should feel their own feelings. And
Yeah.
so, like, when the kids were going for like shots or whatever, like it didn't hurt to me. And I don't even want to tell them that because, or like when I got my vaccinations,
Right.
like I didn't tell them what any of my symptoms were afterwards because I didn't want them to be their symptoms,
Yes.
if that makes sense. So
Yes.
maybe if you want to start doing like some experiments with your humor, just send them and see their true reactions versus telling them because maybe they had, like you said, higher
Yeah.
expectations. Yeah.
Which I think the problem was is that I couldn't stop laughing
Yeah.
in my Marco Polo video to them. And I was literally just I couldn't control it. Like I was laughing so hard when I was trying to tell them what kind of this was about a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I think that because I've had that before. In fact, one of my friends said, "Oh, you should watch Thunder Force with Melissa McCarthy and Octavia Spencer. You know, it's funny." And I watched it. And I was like, "This is not a good movie. This is not one of their better movies."
Yeah.
Like, I can think of a ton of Melissa McCarthy
Well,
movies
okay.
that are
So then
better.
another thing you could do is like, okay, did you think this movie is funny or this and this and this? Or do you even
Yeah,
like this type of movie? Because
yeah,
if you can kind of get a feel of who they are by other things that you have in common, to know
yes.
if you would really like that movie. Like I
Well,
have
and
some people
then
that will say certain movies to watch, and I'm like, probably not going to attempt that because I know you also like that movie.
well, but then you said to me in our appointment, you go, "Okay, but have you seen 43?"
Yeah, movie
And I was like,
43.
"Yeah, movie 43." And I was like, "No, I don't think so." And then you sent me the clip of Hugh Jackman and
Kate Winslet.
Kate Winslet.
Yeah.
And I had seen it, and that one is funny. So then I came home and I showed my husband it again, which I think he and I
Did you
both
see the whole
recognize
thing
it.
yet?
Well, I think we've seen the whole movie. That is
Okay.
one of the funnier ones, as I recall. There's
I
one
really
other
like the
one.
period scene was
I was
hilarious.
gonna say I was thinking there was
Yeah.
one or two other ones that I thought were really funny. I have not rewatched that yet,
Okay.
but that is hilarious, and partly because it's the
Not all of
uncomfortable.
it's funny, but there's a
Right.
lot. Yeah, you're uncomfortable and you're like, oh
Uncomfortable.
my god, you can feel like how weird
Yes.
that would be.
Yes. And
Yeah.
then the fact that it's the juxtaposition between people not noticing and her noticing.
Yeah.
And then also it's the sexual tension where like, what's on his neck is
Yes.
so odd, right? So I thought that was really cool in the way that, you know, it showed several of the things that people find funny. And so then I was like, okay, what's the science behind what is funny and what isn't? So I did find some things. One is when people expect you to say yes and instead you say no. So I was like, what? And I watched some videos of this example, and it's like, if you said, so, are you nervous being on our show today? And I was like, no, it's pretty easy. You might laugh, right? So I got that one. Like, okay, yeah, I can see that. Or if you were to say, so you feeling really good today? And I said, yeah, my dog died yesterday and my, mom's sick and blah, blah. You'd laugh, right? Because I was saying the opposite. Number two was play with numbers. So if I said, oh yeah, I had a little party, it cost about $10 million to throw, you're going to laugh at
Yeah.
that. Or I had a small party. There was just 200 people, and
Yeah.
then use the rule of three was the other one, which was, oh yeah, I love hot dogs, hamburgers, and handsome men.
Yeah.
I'm so thrilled. And I'm so thrilled, happy, and terrified to be here. And then use a character shift was another one, where you expect the character to be one thing and you do something else. And then use the last one I'd gotten to, but you kept calling me ready to record, was use whatever as your secret weapon. So if you're asking me a question that is uncomfortable or something that I don't really want to answer, or it's getting awkward, I'll just go, whatever. And just kind of like
Stop it.
use humor. Yeah, use humor to that. And it was interesting. The person that had authored this piece, which this was How to Be Funny, the science of people.com. He loves Sofia Vergara, thinks she's one of the funniest people, and he used her on every single one of these examples. So
I think
she
he
has,
has a crush on her.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think so too. So she uses a lot of those in her way to be funny and to do that. I also find it interesting that we use humor to disarm people
Mhm.
and to sort of get people in a place that can connect with us.
Yes.
And I would tell you, did I tell you the story of the guy who's doing my backyard patio?
He was stealing it?
No, no, he's building me a backyard covered
Oh.
patio. And he and I really haven't been on the same page. Like we don't really get along. And I work with contractors all day long and I don't know. Excuse you. You
Sorry.
okay?
Yeah.
Um, he and I have not been on the same page. Well, he sent me while we were gone a picture of the backyard where he had put in the backyard a giant, and I am saying giant, Leslie, probably 6 feet long by 2 feet tall, a water well. So the water is going to come off of my new cover over my patio and it's going to drain through gutters into this big water well and then it's going to seep into the ground. Well, it looks like a friggin' grave. It looks like he dug a grave. He put this giant water well tank in there and then is covering it with dirt. And so, but because he and I have not really had the same humor, like he doesn't, like we just haven't communicated well, I would have responded back to anyone else and said, as long as you didn't bury a dead body in that thing, right? Because that's where my head goes. Like, dude,
That's
true
a perfect
crime.
opportunity. Like
Yes.
seriously, like if he had a friend that knew he was doing that, he could
Thank
definitely put
you.
it under there right now,
Thank you.
which could have
Thank
been what
you.
Terry Horman did.
Yes, we did talk about this last time,
Yes.
didn't we? Okay.
Mhm.
So that was my immediate thought, right? Was, oh my gosh, I should bring humor and levity to this and
Yes.
say, well, as long as you didn't put a dead body in it. Well, I didn't think he'd find that funny because he hasn't found anything that I've said funny. So I didn't respond to that. But then when I got home and I went out there, I go, hey, how's it going? And he goes, oh, just finishing up your gravesite. And I was like, oh my God, thank you
Yeah.
for saying that because I was actually going to say that to you. And so
Yeah.
we did have kind of a
Mhm.
moment where we actually, agreed on what was funny.
Yes. You know what? And I think sometimes when you're just not connecting with somebody, if you can just find that one thing
Yes.
that puts you together, you're both now human and you
Yes.
understand it. Sometimes that's all it takes is like that one thing to like, yes.
Yes.
And
And I think
so,
as humans, we try to
yes.
connect through humor. And I also read one thing. It said, how can you define humor? Well, it's compared to let's define the essence of love. It's the same thing. You can't.
Yeah.
It's so many factors and so many parts and pieces. What makes us love each other? What makes you love Michael more than anyone else you'd ever met?
I because he loves me unconditionally. Like he knows like everything that and he still chooses to be with me.
Okay,
I
but
love that he loves that about me. And I love that he knows that like I I I know what's in his backpack. He knows what's in mine. The
yeah.
thought of like going into somebody else's backpack is just I wouldn't even want to like
But how did you even get to the point where you were unpacking your backpack with him?
I think we just kind of grew up together too.
Do you think it was through humor that you connected originally?
So that's one of my main things with him. Like,
Yeah.
I needed somebody who was tall, which he is. He also, that was funny. He had to be funny. He had to like cheese, and he
Jeez.
can't smoke, and he has to look good in a baseball hat. Those were kind of like my things. And who could protect me if like we were camping, right?
What? Was that
Because
really on your list?
yeah, I
Okay,
you
and I just want to go back to the first thing, which was he
yeah
must be tall.
yeah.
Because as a tall woman,
Sorry,
I'm going to give
sorry.
you a little
I'm
shit
sorry.
about that.
I took him. Sorry.
Yeah, because it's bullshit. Because here's the deal. We only have a limited supply of tall men. We need
Mhm.
to leave the tall men for tall women because us as tall women do not have an opportunity and a choice. Well, there's some men who are okay with tall women, but You can't take the
Sorry.
tall men. It's
I'm
not okay.
sorry. I think I was supposed to be tall,
I think I was supposed to be.
even though both of my parents are not tall.
Do you think you were tall in a previous life?
I don't think so. I don't know.
I think you have tall envy,
I don't realize how short I am until I'm around people that are tall, like really
like a
tall.
group of them,
Yeah,
or just
well, we had
Michael.
some good friends, and they were even the girl, my friend, she's probably at least 5'10", and then her
Mhm.
husband was 6'5". Michael's
Ooh,
6'3" or 6'4", and
yeah.
so basically, I just look up everyone's noses.
Yeah. So we have, so clearly I'm tall, y'all.
Yeah,
I'm about 6 foot tall. And then, if I wear a heel, which everyone goes, why do you wear heels? I go, well, because they don't change the size of the heel when they make the shoe 11, a size 11. So if I want a cute shoe, I got to take with what the heel is on there. If I could reduce the heel as they got bigger, the size got bigger, I'd be
well,
all
and I
over that.
think it also changes the way your legs look and your posture
Yes.
changes with the heel.
Yes, who
Yeah,
doesn't want a little sexier leg?
yeah.
Whatever. So, anyways, so sometimes I could be probably 6'2", 6'3", but we had what we refer to as tall friends because Eric's tall too. He's probably 6'2". And we had our tall friends, which you go, oh my God, you had tall friends. She was 6'2" starting out, and he was 6'5". And I gotta tell you, Leslie, I kind of felt, and here I am 2 inches shorter than her. I felt so short. I mean, I was just like, I never feel short. This is so weird. So weird for me. And that's only 2 inches. I can't imagine being, a whole 8 inches shorter than somebody.
Well, I think I must have a bigger or louder mouth or personality or something because people are like, "You're only 5'3"? Like, maybe I just
Yeah,
seem
I would
bigger.
say five
Well,
five.
I'm whiter. Maybe that's it.
No, that's not it. I would say 5'5" too. I would say you're five
Yeah,
five.
so but I have 2 friends that are shorter than me, which makes me feel great. But then I'm like, "Gosh, they must be really
They
short.
must be really short.
They need a
Yeah.
booster seat to drive." I'm
Okay,
just kidding.
so I probably have told you this story too, because there's a lot of stories I've told you now. But in high school, I had two best friends that are like 5'2". And they would literally have these little conversations. We're walking down the hallway, right? Here's the two of them, here's me. And they're talking back and forth. I'm like, you guys, you have to point up. Like, point your face up. I can't hear you. Like, I have to be down
Aw.
here to hear. Yeah. So they'd be like having those little conversations. It's like in the car when you're in the back seat and you
Yeah.
can't hear what's going on in the front seat. Yeah. I'm like, the air to flow doesn't go up like with the sound.
Yeah, like, well, and the people that are all wearing their face shields now, when you sneeze,
Oh,
it's going towards me,
oh my gosh, you're
right? It's
right.
going down. It's going
You're
to
right.
me.
Well, hopefully it's getting caught in that shield, but I don't like those
Going
shields.
it's going
I
like
don't
it's going against the shield and then out. Like,
do
I
you
don't
think the shields
necessarily agree with those, but
do you think the shields are the people that have been vaccinated that are wearing the
I
shield?
think the shields are the people who um are only wearing it because they have to.
Anti-maskers?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what we call anti-maskers, but I know I hate to socially shame, but I
Trust
definitely
me,
am.
I've played pickleball in a mask and I'm all for masks and everything. It's hard, but I
It
still
is.
did it. I wasn't about
Yeah.
to take it off. I just know the inside of it was all wet when I was
I
done, but
know. So
and there were
somebody
times like in between where I took a breath and then put it back on, but
yes.
um
Somebody was
yeah,
saying you need to bring multiples so
yeah.
that you can change them out when you're
I do have
done.
like those plastic things that you can put on so it doesn't suck in your mouth.
Yeah.
But
Does it
those it's
work?
just like another thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's
Yeah.
one more thing sitting on your face.
Yeah, no thanks. I don't
Yeah,
know. I
yeah,
just get through it for an hour and then I'm done. So
yeah. Are you
yeah.
playing pickleball then?
I'm trying to learn, but so I played with Ella. She's never played before and she still beat me.
Oh.
Well, I've already been playing a couple times. Like how does I'm not very good, but I'm trying. I really, really, really like it. So I'm going to get good. I
Oh,
just have to practice.
I love that. Oh, good. Does Ella like it?
I think she likes it because want her to like it because I
Okay.
want someone to play with.
Yeah.
So she
So sh
humors me, and it's a good workout because I'm sweating at the end, so
right.
that's good.
And are you doing it just on a tennis court?
Yeah, I played at the club,
Okay.
and then
Inside or outside?
inside.
I guess there's nowhere outside to play. Are they
I
gonna
bought a
build?
couple racks that I could do it like at the tennis court,
Yeah.
but I think the net's a little higher on the tennis court. But I don't
Oh,
know, and it's bigger
okay.
too. Like pickleball court is much smaller.
Well, I know they play at Tualatin Park. Like there's a whole bunch of
Yeah.
there's a whole
Yeah, you
league.
know those people though? They're like they've been playing for a while.
I know, but
That I
they're
would
older.
feel bad like jumping in on a game and they're like, "Oh, she's new."
Yeah, but they're
So
older.
I want to get
They're
better
like
first.
70s.
Yeah. So I have to get better first because when I played with one of my clients actually took me for my first time and she's
Yeah.
like, "You play with those old guys, they stand right at they call it the kitchen and they
Oh.
can just hit it. They just stop it before it even gets anywhere." And she's like, "I don't know how they do it. They just bam, 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 bam." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. So I need to practice before I can get to that level." But
So then you need to follow up with humor and say, "No men in the kitchen."
aha.
Ah.
Ah.
That's one of those social norm jokes that may not be funny anymore.
Well, when I worked at Winkers, the owner would always say, you're only as old as the women you feel, like that you're feeling." So basically, he always wanted to like hang around a bunch of young
Oh
girls because that's as
dear.
old as he felt. Dirty old man.
Yeah, I was gonna
He was
say.
really actually he was all talk. He was very, very
Oh,
kind, and he ended up
okay.
getting leukemia and he passed away.
Oh.
But you know, he was just a talker. He wasn't really dirty. He just
Okay.
talked dirty, and but he owned a bar for God's sakes, and you know they hung the bras on the above the bar for a free drink, and so you would give like your $60
Really?
bra for a drink. And it was like the light would turn on and the flashers and everybody would come around because a girl was about to take off her bra because you couldn't just like slip it out of your shirt. You had to like take it off in front of everyone.
Oh, what? You couldn't slip it out through the
No,
thing?
you had to show everybody. That
What?
was the whole point of getting a free drink. And then there was a time where
Shut up. That is so inappropriate.
Amber came to work without a bra, but it was like one of the promotional nights where like Budweiser that was there or something. And so we all had t-shirts. Well, her t-shirt was very white and it was very tight and she didn't have a bra. So she had to climb up there and grab another bra that somebody did. But it was one of those places that had peanut shells. So she
Yes.
says it was itchy all night because of the dust, the peanut dust. So she's in this very
Why
itchy
was she
bra.
not wearing a bra?
Some people don't have to. Like mine, it would have been hanging at the bottom of my shirt, and I've been tripping on it all night. It would not have been a good
You would have
thing.
tucked them into your pants.
Well, I mean, I
Roll
guess it
them
could
up.
have, but that would have been weird. I
Oh my
prefer rolling
gosh.
them up like cinnamon rolls and tucking them into my bra, and then I'm good.
Okay, I don't necessarily have to wear a bra. I'm not that endowed, but it's just uncomfortable not to. Like,
Endowed. That seems such a funny word for a girl.
is that
I
endowed? Isn't that the appropriate word? You think you only think of endowed as being
I don't
penises?
know. Maybe
I do not know either. Oh my gosh.
endowed. Is that what you would call a girl with big boobs?
Well, that's what I thought. I call them assets. So like my girlfriend who
Assets.
has good assets, I'm like, dude,
Ew.
you gotta, show your assets, or take advantage of your assets.
My assets are gross.
Oh, stop it. You do have good assets. You
No,
have
I
big ol'
have big
assets.
mom assets.
Big mom. And thank you to today's listeners. We hope that you will stay curious, stay suspicious, and stay open.